Some tragic news in the world of hockey, especially for the Toronto Maple Leafs organization today, as Borje Salming, a legendary defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs, passed away. Borje Salming was a legend. He was born April 1951 in Salming, Salmi. Well, he was proud of his Sami origin, which was an indigenous Finno-Ugric speaking people and all that. He was the first person of Sami origin to play in a North American professional sports league. Salming was a legend for Sweden with Brynäs in the top division, winning 2 Swedish league championships. The Leafs would sign Salming as a free agent. The legend had it that the Leafs were looking for Ingrid Hammerstrom, but Jerry McInerney, the scout, said that Salming had some great upside to him. So Salming and Hammerstrom were both signed by the Leafs in May 1973. Ironically, when Harold Ballard was actually incarcerated. Salming started his NHL career with the Leafs in 73-74 against the Sabres. He was named the first star and put up 39 points. Salming changed a lot of perceptions in North American hockey circles that Swedish players were chickens and were not really acclimatized and could play in North American hockey circles because European players in general lacked toughness. However, Salming eradicated that reputation, playing over 1,100 NHL games and putting up 150 goals. Salming got on the first team NHL team in 1977, meaning that he was one of the top 2 defensemen in the NHL in 1977. He was named to the second team in 75, 76, 78, 79, 80. So basically from 75 to 80, he was one of the best clutch defensemen of all time, not part of the Montreal Canadiens dynasty. Salming would play 16 years with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which was amazing and all that. It's a long stretch and all that. Salming actually was nearly suspended for the entire 1986 season because he admitted he used cocaine and all that. The league gave him an 8-game suspension instead of the whole season. In that 1986 season, Salming's toughness was on display after an incident with the Leafs and Red Wings in Detroit. Salming was actually knocked in front of the Leafs net, and Gerald Gallant, who is the New York Rangers coach right now, actually cut Salming's face with his skate blade. He needed cosmetic surgery that involved 200 plus stitches, but he still came back and played a while. Salming became the first European-born and trained player to get 1,000 career NHL games in January 1988. He was signed for the Detroit Red Wings and played 1 season for them, and then went to AIK to finish up in the Swedish Elite League, where he belonged, back home in Sweden. He was a fan favorite. One of the most popular moments in Toronto was when he played for Sweden at the 1976 Canada Cup, because they had games in Toronto. It was Sweden versus the United States, and Salming got a giant standing ovation, even though that he's playing for Sweden and all that. Salming actually, at age 56 in 2007, posed nude for a graffiti artist to create 31 paintings. 21 would be displayed in Toronto and 10 in Sweden. Unfortunately, Salming's health issues this past year were given credence. Salming actually had an unusual twitching motion in his muscles, which made him exit an alumni game in March. In mid-July of this year, he was diagnosed with ALS, aka Lou Gehrig's disease. Unfortunately, Salming would have a little bit of depression, well, obviously. And then Salming actually revealed a week ago that his condition worsened to the point that he couldn't speak. He had to use an iPad for communication and needed a feeding tube. Despite all this, on November 11th, Salming made a trip to Toronto for the Maple Leafs Hall of Fame induction weekend game, and it was a emotional pregame moment when Joe Sittler helped him wave to the crowd. And then Salming was honored by the Leafs against the Canucks on November 12th, featuring a pregame ceremony dedicated to the defender when Salming dropped the ceremonial puck. And the Leafs had all six Swedish Maple Leafs players as a starting lineup, including the goalie. Salming unfortunately passed away, as I said, but he had a lot of great honors. He was the first Swede inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1996. His number 21 was honored in 2006 by the Leafs, but then once the Leafs changed their philosophy in 2016 to make all honored numbers retired numbers, that his number is retired. So, as I said, he played on so many all-star games. He played at the Canada Cup in '76 and was named to their all-star team, and was named to the IIHF Hall of Fame in '98 and the Centennial All-Star Team in 2008, alongside Vladdy Tretiak, Slava Fetisov, Valery Harlamov, Sergei Makarov, and Wayne Gretzky. Salming still owns Leaf records for most career points by defenseman, most career goals by defenseman, most career assists in any position, not just defenseman, most assists in a season by defenseman, and best plus minus in his career. He played 1,148 NHL games, 150 goals, 637 assists, for 787 points. In the playoffs, he had 81 games, 49 points. Borje Salming will be missed by Leaf legends, and his number 21 will always be remembered. Borje Salming was only 71 years old.